Oh, did they? How's she doing? Oh, she's not? Oh, okay. Oh, my goodness.
You like to stand a little closer? How are you doing, Lorraine? Good to see you again. Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, you look cool.
Yeah, I'm surprised. It's more room than I expected it to be. I thought it'd be a little
Yeah?
wider.
Oh, it didn't treat us good at court.
But fortunately,
Yeah, we
I'm getting the rain that we have, so.
More than Alpha, ran into Dean. Candy. Dave.
Well, we just came yesterday afternoon. Now,
Yeah.
I've not gotten as much time here as I wanted because I went back to work.
You want this one up?
Well, could have done without me, but they needed somebody like me, so they called me.
Yeah, there's something in here.
Yeah. Crazy thing is, since I had been over a year, I had to go through all the hiring process, like a retire, you know, and if once when I retired, of course, I didn't really expect to come back, if he would have just changed my status and he was part-time on call, it would have been seamless. So, we're, yep. Yeah, that's what I'm doing, but that's my status. But it still has been 45, 50 hours a week. This week was a little, less, because that was the condition that I hired on, that I said, the weeks I'm there, I will work 60 hours a week necessary, but I want to be flexible and be able to have some days off, because I knew this was coming, Christmas was coming, a few days next month, so we got to work around those things. And people, and we should have, for a 720, 24/7, 365 operation, we've always.
Oh, good. Well, we'll keep that up then.
Oh, but this one right here. Then you put 3 on this one.
Well, I'm late. I didn't want to walk that far.
Well, that's a good way to do it, though.
The treatment's really working. It takes some time. Yeah, and you know that from, and that's the good news about doing these.
Yeah.
She's
She's
responding
responding now.
Yes.
Yeah, I got the email, I guess, Mary Ann sent it, or you sent it, and then forwarded it. Yeah, okay, yeah.
That way.
Sarah sent me Dean just pulled up in the yard and I wandered out and into the field where it drove. You want to go last one? Yeah. You gotta get some. Oh, we got one.
Dean might start his heart out.
Yeah, Dean ordered his car.
Okay.
But he left it. He said, Dean.
You proved that. it pays to shop.
Jim brought us along this time. The cheapest rental car you could go into Minneapolis, so cheap car.
Was it really?
Drove to the Badlands. Orville, how are you? I'm Roland.
Hi, Dave.
I'm on the wrong end of that camera.
Yeah, you are.
you to find a seat now, find a chair and table, because the food is ready. We are ready to sit down and begin the evening. I do want to welcome everyone here. Some of you have come quite a number of miles. And a special welcome to our aunts and uncles, Uncle Orville and Aunt Sarah, and Eltha, Aunt Lorraine. I've seen her. And to all of you, and also I want to thank Sarah. You know, it was Jim and Lois and our family that was responsible this year, but I know that Sarah has done the lion's share of the legwork here since she was in the area, so I think we should show her a hand also. All right, I hope I haven't missed anyone special. We've got 3, 4, 5 generations here that, well, okay, we'll begin the evening, and Jim, if you will now offer the prayer.
Dear God, we thank you for bringing us all here together, family. We remember the members of our family who can't be here because of health and adversity. But we appreciate, again, the safe travels, all those of us that are here. We thank you for the opportunity to live in this great world. We thank you for our health. We thank you for families. We thank you for happiness. Guide us, lead us, protect us. Amen.
All right, I probably shouldn't tell you this now, but we're planning to start with these tables will go through the line first. So if they didn't sit down first, okay, then we'll just, go through the line and then find a place to sit, so.
Good for me.
Is it safe?
I'll shut it off. No, I don't.
Dave? Yeah, why don't, I see Brooke does have the dress on, but why don't you tell us about what you are doing with the genealogy?
Well, mostly, a lot of what I'm doing is available to you, useful to you. The tree chart there has over 230 descendants of Jacob and Hattie. And that's what's in this material here. I've also brought some things that are, some of them are duplicate. In fact, Paul Wolbrink found the ancestry of the Bockers that goes back to the 1500s or something. And I brought one copy of that in English, and that's over there as well. And someone else, I believe it was Dean, put me in, made me aware of the steamship Zondam, which is the immigration ship that they came in on. And that passenger manifest is there as well. And 1883. 83, yeah. And I believe Grandpa had his birthday on the boat. But my plea here, more than to talk about that, and I'm happy to talk about that, and there's a bunch of that stuff over there, and we can talk about that all night, but I don't want to monopolize the mic. I want to take the time that I have to make a plea for more information. Many of you, although looking around the table, not all of you, have a distinct memory of the bicentennial year, 1976. That year, my dad published a booklet of the descendants of Jacob and Hattie and passed it to many of you. So many of you have copies of that. The older ones have copies of that booklet that he put together in 1976. He used a typewriter and a stencil and correction fluid and a mimeograph machine, and he made these booklets. And in about 1986, I had a computer and I started trying to do this and tried to pick up where he had left off and started to add people, and people were being produced quite rapidly in those days. And by the way, they still are. So in 1986, I started doing that. And in, I think, 1993, I'm not exactly sure, I brought 100 copies and passed them out to everyone, I believe, born before 1976, so that there were 100 copies passed out at that time. And I'm glad, and thank you for telling me. Some of you had told me that you had enjoyed them and have referred back to them. Since then, it's been a little bit of a struggle. There have been better programs and better programs come available, and it's a real chore entering that data. And so I've changed programs 3 times. I'm pretty much stuck with it now. Any of you who do genealogical work know that there is a sort of a universal standard called GEDCOM, G-E-D-C-O-M. And so that data is in GEDCOM now. And it's working quite well, and I have quite a bit of it here. I brought 38 copies of a registered book of the descendants of Jacob Wolbrink and Hattie Brower. And those 38 copies are over there. I don't know exactly how to pass them out, but I do know that there are about 37 of my generation. Maybe not quite anymore. Maybe it's 34 now. I don't think we're 38, but anyway. The data's there, and I can't remember. There are a few have passed on. So there are copies for every one of my generation and a few others, and I would encourage you to help yourself. You see the stack over there, and take one. And besides that, I now have a way of putting that into a Word program. It's a little bit of a procedure, but I can take that relational database data in that format and put it into a Microsoft Word program, which ends up being not fat at all like a relational database is, and I can send it to you by email. And my email is on some of that stuff, so feel free to copy it, take it, contact me, and if you don't get a copy today and tomorrow, just email me and I'll make a copy available on the internet. But there are over 230 descendants recorded in this database, but I'm missing a lot, and I need your help. And I have family group sheets for everyone. And I think we'll have to do this a little bit flexibly. In some cases, Uncle Richard's family, I think, is quite complete. Maybe only 1 or 2 of them can check and everything will be fine. In other cases, I'm way behind. Deb, with your family, Uncle Garrett's family, I need lots of help, and I'm on my knees begging you to help. So I'll pass out these sheets, and if I don't come around and find you, find me. They are in family order, so that, for example, the first family would be Uncle Charles and Aunt Helen and their 3 children. And then each of their 3 children has a family. There's repetition. So if Arnie shows up as a child and it says birth date and so forth, you fill that in once, I've got his birth date. But if you fill that in once, that's enough. That's good enough. And the other request would be, you don't have to have it all. Give me the name, and well, give me all you can, but give me the name, and then give me the year of birth the month of birth, the date of birth, and the community and county and state of birth, that would be good. But if you can only give me the year, that's a start. That'll get that person in the database, and it'll be, we can always improve from there. So I'm asking for your help, and I hope you enjoy it, and let me know what you think and what you'd like to do. What you can provide is anything you want in there. I think that you will notice in the register books, there are a few obituaries in there, and I think those obituaries are kind of nice in there. It really tells a little bit of a story. I know that it's kind of strange and out of balance. For instance, talking about Uncle Garrett's family again, Norman Bluster's obituary is in there, but Arlene's isn't. And so if we can provide some of that information, I can key that in, and the database ties them together almost automatically. It's a little bit of work, but I don't mind doing it. I enjoy it. It keeps me in touch with you all. Thanks. Who's next?
Something we'd like to show you folks is Grandma Wolbrink's wedding dress. Those of us in the area see it once in a while at a style show, at mother-daughter teas, and so on. And I thought it would be something that maybe you folks from a distance would like to see. So I'm sure anyone who has their camera, I don't know, maybe Brooke, if you come and stand on this side in front of the plain wall. Grandpa and Grandma got married in 1903, and the dress looks a little worn, and since it was January when they got married, Mom said she was sure that she continued wearing the dress after they were married, because it's a warm one.
Take pictures from the ankles up. There is. She's not breathing very well.
Modeling the dress is Brooke Falker's, Harold Carroll's oldest granddaughter, for those who didn't know her, from Omaha.
That's possible. I heard that one. I asked Mom, and she said that has a kid's dress. You don't remember that she was there.
She'd like to get out of her way. I can't breathe.
110 pounds was her top weight. Now I would like to ask Ruth to come up here. Could be Frances too. This was Grandma Wolbrink's last hat. Grandma was only 2 years older than her when she passed away.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I wasn't talking about that.
The hat is easy to model. Anyone may wear it after.
I remember that.
I think we're really sure.
Because I wouldn't remember younger than my mom's house.
That's good. Good. All right. That's the new one. You want to have
Hard to top that one.
You did.
I'm Carol Dykstra, and I'm Harold's wife, and of course, that was my granddaughter that was up here. And I'm really proud of my kids and my granddaughters. And I know you all are, so. But Mary Ann, Harold's and Sarah's and Harriet's sister, and you all know the 5 girls, in my family, that I was the only in-law, had to get used to all these fancy girls' dresses and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, they let me stay in the family all this time just because they want me to lead this song. And I was assured there would be a piano here, and there isn't a piano. But Mary Ann, John Nickel, their sister, composed these songs. And I don't know, I'm hoping I can get this all together. We tried to practice it, but I still didn't get it. But I want you all to sing it with me. And I just want to add that Mary Ann could not be here tonight because she is with our other sister Dorothy, as many as you know, has been diagnosed with acute leukemia. And Mary Ann went out there to be with her so she could not feel so bad about missing our reunion today. So. But we're glad that she composed this, and so we're going to see what we can do about singing this song about the Wolbrinks. She changed it, what? Okay, she got it from the internet, but she changed it to fit our family. So I'm hoping we can do that. So without a piano here, you guys are going to have to help me out, all right? Okay. Our eyes have seen the growing of the mighty Wolbrink clan. They are living now in many states spread out across the land. Our family tree has rooted and is making quite a stand. Our tribe is marching on. All the men. Glory, glory, we are Wolf. Women. Glory, glory, we are Wolf. Men. Glory, glory, we are Wolf. Everybody. Our heritage is strong. Okay, good. They did a good job. Yeah, give me and it was nice to have harmony. Wherever that's coming from, that sounded like pretty over here. Okay, next one is My Country 'Tis of Thee, and it's Behold Our Family Tree. This is one I have a little trouble with, so if I stumble, please help me out there. Okay. Behold our family tree, sweet names you'll all agree, of thee we sing. Grandfolks began it all, their names in pride we call. Jacob Wolbrink, and his fair wife Hattie Brower, oh dear, to start their family tree, Richard
when you have a family reunion, it seems like we have to think about our roots just a little bit. I know a lot of this information has been discussed many times, rehashed over. To some, it's maybe just a lot of boring facts, but I put together a few things, kind of as a quiz, but a little information. Last winter, I was in Sioux Center, where my brother-in-law is librarian in the Sioux Center Library, and he asked if there was any genealogy information that I'd like. There's a lady there who comes in, just volunteers her time, and just wants to look up things for people. So I gave her a bunch of dates. And this is where the ship manifest and all those sheets over there, the census and so on comes from. She's the one that found that. I didn't. You want to take your sheet, the roots, and we'll just read through it, and you can holler out the answers by now. You probably know the answers are on the back side and have studied some of it. But our history of the Wolbrink Brouwer family begins in the 1700s and even farther back than that. But we're going to begin talking about them coming to America. First of all, we'll talk about the Wolbrink side. Ritzka and Treinchi stop Wolbrink. And on this sheet, the left side is about the Brouwer stop side, and the right, or the Wolbrink stop side, and the right side is more about the Brouwer Vanderscore side. Ritzka and Treinchi were married in Hallam in 1878. And this was information that some of us wondered about. I know David and I talked about it, and we have both been in Hallam and wondered if it was really the place, but now with the information we know, and I have the picture right there of Hallam that I took when we were there. Immigration papers show that they came on the May 26, 1883 ship, and that information is listed right down there. Ritzka was age 40, Treinchi age 30, Jacob 8, Garrett 4, Jan 2, and baby girl Yanchi at 6 months died en route. And we can't begin to imagine what they must have gone through. I mean, imagine this was their first girl, their baby girl died at 6 months. And according to history, the bodies were thrown overboard then. So can't begin to imagine what that had to be like. It also says that Ritzka, Treinchi, and Jacob each had one piece of baggage. Ritzka had previously been married to a Sturk, whose family came to America, and later her family was a neighbor down the hill from the Wolbrinks, and she died without children. Treinchi had a son named Jacob Staub, who lived with his grandparents until the boat was ready to leave. Treinchi begged Ritzka for him to allow Jacob to come along, and at the last minute, he agreed. Okay, when was Jacob born at Hallam? May 4, 1875. You folks can holler out the answer. Who was he named after? His grandpa Jacob Staub, Treinchi's dad, was named Jacob Staub. What is known about Jacob's birth father? He was the son of the Jewish family that she worked for. And and this was the names that I asked this lady in Sioux Center to try and find. What did you learn about Jacob's biological father? And then this is what she came up with. Documents show his name was Jacob Staub, born through Treinchi Jacob Staub. She was age 21. His birth date was reported on May 5, which was the following day, 1875, by Lawa Peters Baker. He was 45 at the time that Jacob Staub was born, so that was the following day. And Peter Baker, age 17, is recorded as his only son, so it's believed that he was Jacob's biological father. So if anyone wants to disagree, that's what we know. Do you want to say something, David?
There's a copy over there of the Bacher genealogy.
Bacher, that's how you say it. Bacher, okay?
Well, if there are two Ks, it
Uh-huh.
says
Okay.
Bacher to me. but
Okay.
I don't think it makes sense. But in there, it says that the father established a relationship with Tree Chief, and Jacob was born, established a relationship in the name of the town, I can't remember. And so the Bacher genealogy claims the father. And he had two sons. One had died by that time already. So maybe it was the younger son, who knows?
Well, the other one would have died before he was 2 years old,
Right.
because they had exactly the same name. So the older one would have died before he was 2 years old, so, yeah. So the father established a relationship with,
Well, that's what
okay.
that Bacher genealogy says.
Okay. Okay, how old was Jacob?
Maybe he just took a fall for him.
How old was Jacob when his mother married Ritzka Wolbrink and she moved out? 3 years. What age did Jacob become just before leaving? We like to think that he had his birthday on the boat, but his birthday was May 4 and they sailed on May 26. So then it seems like he had his birthday a couple weeks before that then. He had lived all his life with his step-grandparents and never saw them again. He corresponded with the younger brother of his mother, who he was very close to. Now, like Aunt Sarah, do you remember hearing about Grandpa getting letters from...
I can't remember.
I do. I remember hearing Mom say that he'd have a letter from Treinschi's younger brother. Maybe Aunt Katie would remember. Okay, where did the Wolbrink family live their first planting season in America? In 1883. And I kind of answered it in the next paragraph. In Sioux County, Iowa, near Boyden, for one planting season, because that is where a brother of Ritzka was living, who had come to America at least 13 years previous to that. And their names were Yanchi and Zika Wolbrink or something like that. And they became John and Zika later in America. The 1870 census shows them living in Holland, Michigan with 4-year-old John. The 1880 census shows them living in Buena Vista County, which is east of Lamar's. But by 1883, they were living near Boyden, Iowa, in Sioux County, when the Ritzka family arrived by them. And it also lists other children as Katie, Hattie, Albert, and Jacob. Now think of a family of 5 arriving by a family of 7. And don't we also wonder, okay, they didn't have cell phones and all that. How did they find them where they were? And those census sheets are all laying on the table over there. But there's also a magnifying glass there, and it's very necessary to use that to read it. So then we wonder what other Wolbrinks could be descendants of this family. It would be John, Albert, and Jacob. I know that Jim and Lois know that there were other Wolbrinks living in Iowa. I don't know if you knew any personally. If you did, you could, just wonder if their grandparents were Yanchi.
Reverend Butcher was in Allendale, Michigan, because he had Wolbrink in his church.
Okay, and in that Wolbrink book, that you brought, and Delta let us read, and it's laying on the table over there. It lists Wolbrinks from Allendale, Michigan, and also more in Iowa.
And I was working in Boston in like March, and I called upstairs to the ICU to communicate a report about a chest x-ray. And I said, this is Dr. Wolbrink, and the person on the other end said, well, this is Dr. Wolbrink also. And so, and she was Tracy Wolbrink, and she came from a family from Michigan that, well, we couldn't figure it out. We sat down over coffee at Starbucks, we never figured it out. So, anyway.
Well, you'd have to go back to this Yanchi, Yanchi or John, which dates back. And they're buried at Boyden now, which goes back there. So you wonder if they're from that family line or not. They died in 1914 and 22 and buried at Boyden. Who told Ritzka that he had to let Jacob call him Dad and not Uncle Ritzka, as he had been doing for the past 5 years?
Ritz's brother.
That was, right, Ritzka's brother, his uncle, Yitzka, or John. Ritzka and Kleinchi Wolbrink settled on a farm northwest of Harrison in the fall of 1883. Imagine coming to a place where there is only long grass after being well-to-do farmers in the Netherlands. Winter is near and all they have is a covered wagon with 3 little boys. First they lived in a sod shanty until the wooden structure was built, but no one knows how long they lived in that. And they lived in the wooden building, and the picture of it is right here. And for those of you Sunday who can go on the tour after church, if you haven't seen it before, you will be able to see the wooden building right there. There's 3 houses on that farm. You want to say good, better, and best, or the biggest one, the biggest, what? Worse, and worse, Harvey says. The small one was the one that the family lived in until shortly before 1898. And they know, that was when Henry was born, and they know that they were living in the new house by then. Now that middle house that you'll see between the big one and the other one, that one was moved in. I learned with the auction last summer. That one was moved in on skids and used as a wash house, and later as a shop. And then it was the small wooden structure that they lived in. Okay, homestead papers show them having over 320 acres of land. And there's also the map right up here to show what land that Ritzka Wolbrink homesteaded. Okay, how many of Grandpa's siblings can you name? Garrett, John, then Yanchi, the girl that died. How about the sisters? Jenny, Edith, okay, Gertie, and then the name of the sister that died in the bobsled, that was Katie. That was the American version for the Yanchi name. And then the last boy was Henry. Okay, how old was Jacob when he was sent away from home to earn his own living? 14. And this would have been in 1889, the year that Gertie was born, or about to be born. Now imagine having 9 people living in that house. Katie was living then yet, the girl that died later from the bobsled accident. And when Jacob came home on weekends, so that made 7 kids plus the parents. And the original building is still available for using. It was used later as a chicken coop and then as a shop. So when you folks see this building on Sunday, for those of you who haven't seen it yet, picture 9 people living in that. Now one of the Wolbrinks even told me that the wing was added on when it was used as a chicken coop. And I asked another one of the family members that day and they weren't so sure. So if you can figure out from the construction of it if it was.
Okay, I'm going to ask, is it also okay if we stop tomorrow?
Yeah, if it's, yeah, it is. Alan, one of the Vannon Hooks will be with it on Sunday, but yeah, we have permission to go on the yard. Delmer Marcus very graciously went there a few nights ago to mow. So otherwise it would have been grass up to here, and in your Sunday clothes that would not be very good. But Delmer mowed. Phyllis?
That gunshot, what was that where that one died? Was that?
A loaded gun was in the bobsled and it accidentally fired. Maybe Aunt Sarah can tell us more?
Well, that's all I remember too. It was the neighbors that got the kids from school, I guess. And
It was the neighbors. Okay.
And that gun was laying there and it didn't, it accidentally fired.
And it hit her in the leg, right?
Yeah.
And she bled to death.
She bled.
That's what, because Aunt Katie told me that at, Memorial Day, we walked through the cemetery and hear these stories, so imagine. What did Jacob do to earn money? Worked as a carpenter. When did Jacob buy his first quarter of land and started building the buildings? 1900. Okay.
May I interrupt you again? I
Yes,
apologize. In the National Archives in Washington, D.C., where the census every 10 years is stored, and when I was there in the days of microfiche, and the 1890 census, Jacob wasn't there in the family. And so I found him at another family. So he was enumerated in the census as part of that family, but there as a house builder. So when he would have been 15 years old then, and he was enumerated as a house builder for them.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
What was the family name? Do you remember who that was?
I have that record at home, I don't know. But I could, the census was quite specific, and it'll give you the, whatever the surveyors use, the section and the township and section and all that stuff as well. So not only that, but the place. And so if we had that and we wanted to follow up on it, we might even be able to see the building that he was working on.
So he was listed as the head of a household?
No, he was listed as living with this household.
Oh, okay.
And instead of where it says so-and-so son, so-and-so daughter, then there was Jacob Wolbrink, house builder.
So he was living full-time with that family.
He was living there.
I think history kind of has it, he often came home on weekends otherwise. Didn't it, Aunt Sarah?
Yeah, well, his dad-in-law his stepdad didn't show him much love, I guess. And he told about it once when he was sleeping he always slept upstairs, or had to sleep upstairs. And then one morning when he woke up, then he heard his stepdad say, "I moved the right. He has to get out." That's what his stepdad said to his mother. And I don't know what, but he must have been pretty young. And so
I think it was, always said he was 14. That's what Mom used to say, if that comes out. I think Aunt Sarah should have a chair right here so I could give her the mic.
I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be that little old house, that house, it isn't, that shanty.
Yeah, that first house that they were in.
It's this.
He must have been right about the kitchen.
Tell a few other things, please.
I'll need that real knowledge.
Now we're going to go to the other side of the family, to the Brower Vanderscore side. Okay, they were, Nelchie was born, or Chad, how do you say that? Chad. What?
The J was usually silent in the Dutch language, so it was Tid. I would say it'd be like Tid, or something like that, because the J was usually silent.
Okay, he was born in Friesland, and then, that's too much noisy. And Nelchie was born in South Holland, and they were Hattie's parents. They met and got married in Pella in 1864, so lived there 20 years before coming to Harrison. Being from two different provinces clarifies why the families spoke a mixture of Fries and Dutch. And I know to Mom at one time that was kind of a mystery, you know, that they spoke this mixture. But then knowing that, Hattie's parents had each come from different provinces. Chad came to Pella by sailboat at age 20 with his widowed father in the year 1855 and settled near Pella. Nelchie came to America at age 10 with her parents and 17-year-old brother Libert. That's how I'm going to say it. Also in 1855 by sailboat and also settled near Pella. Now, the first Dutch settlers came to Pella, I have here in 1849. David was in 1847. 8, right in between. Okay, 1848. So you know it hadn't been inhabited too long there then yet.
There were annual, several years in a row, there were annual migrations.
Like once a year, a group would come, you
Well, maybe
think?
the advance guard came in 1847.
Okay, and what year did the Brower family come to Harrison and settle on the farm 1.5 miles west? 1884. Okay, now we're going to talk about, I'll say Uncle Liebert, but that isn't how the family pronounced it. He was an older brother of great-grandma Nelchie, and he come to Harrison 1 year before the Brower family did, and he never married. Now, at what age was Hattie when she came to Harrison with her parents? 1.5 years old. Her birthday was January 17, 1883, so she was 1.5 years. What was their mode of transportation in coming to Douglas County? Covered wagon, that's the obituary says. How many children did Ched and Nelchie have, including Hattie? 13. 5 died in Iowa before coming to Harrison. 2 in the same week even. Okay, now the Brower family of 8 arrives at Harrison and moved in with Uncle Liebert, who had come the year before. He had homesteaded a half section of land the year before, and that is the half section west of Harrison. Tom DeLange has the land now, and the homestead papers are right there to show what he homesteaded. And it also said the Browers never owned land, but rented a place to the west. Now, yesterday Bonnie explained to me exactly where the farm was, west of Larry and Bonnie's place. There's a driveway that goes into the pasture there, and Larry and Bonnie can tell you exactly where the basement. It was a Kramer house that they rented. I guess the Kramers had 99 quarters of land.
No, there was not a... The Kramer house was built later. Grandma died in the old house that was on that place. And I think maybe Grandpa did too, but the Kramer house was built on afterward. Yeah.
And they both died in 07. Well, no, he died in 13, and she died in 07, and then the uncle died in 08. What was Hattie's occupation before she married Jacob? She was a school teacher for 2 years. Do you know where she taught? What school? Okay. She also taught the young ladies Sunday school class for 20 years. Pregnant or not, she continued teaching, I guess.
She also worked in the store before she was married. Schubert, I think. According to that obituary there of Oma Leibert, he had the store there in Schubert too, or something.
Okay, now to me it looks like Uncle Liebert. And Sarah doesn't say it like that. You say, how did you folks say it?
Oma Leibert.
Oma Liebert. Oma Liebert. How many remember your Wolbrink parent talking about this uncle?
With respect.
With great respect. We'll finish this a minute and then. Okay, when did Jacob and Hattie get married? February 18, 1903. Now, how many of Hattie's siblings can you name? Okay, Wieba, Jan, Papa, Sadie, Polina, and then Grandma, and then Hattie, and then Anna, and Katie. Oh, I missed okay, I missed that one. Auntie Kate, Tante Polina. How did we say that? Auntie Polina, that was that. Tonka means aunt, yeah. Okay, when did Hattie die? May 30, 1955. What was Hattie's favorite song? "'Tis so sweet to trust in Jesus." How many times a day did Jacob read the Bible at mealtime?
3.
Tradition says 3. Did he really read on Sunday morning? With the 10 of you, you had to be in Harrison by horse and buggy.
No. What we did was read the Sunday school guide on Sunday morning. That's just when I was young.
That was a lot longer than just a song, too, wasn't it?
Because we read the lesson and then also what it wrote about the explanation.
Imagine having time for that on Sunday morning.
There were a lot of us to do chores. That didn't take long.
How did you all have a chance at the shower?
That was done on Sunday evening. Saturday night, that wasn't done on Sunday.
Okay, when did Jacob die? December 8, 1961. We all know Jacob and Hattie were blessed with 7 handsome sons and 3 beautiful daughters. What Old Testament patriarch was also, in the end, blessed in this way? Job, that's right. Okay, now, this time I thought, we usually talk a lot about the Stocks and the Wolbrinks, and this uncle, I'm going to add just a little bit here. Alma Libet died in 1908. And if you like to read, think of great Uncle Libet. History has it the Brower brothers never went to bed before midnight because they were reading. I don't know, unless they all needed a chance at the reading light, that it took that long, but okay. Alma Libet came to Harrison in 1883 with the second wave of settlers at age 45. He homesteaded a half section of land 1.5 miles west of Harrison, where the Browers also made their home. In Iowa, at Pella, he worked for the Vandenbosch family, and his obituary says that he also lived his last years with the Vandenbosch family in Harrison until his death. And I quote from his obituary here, "In this country he labored, farming part of the time, serving as typo on the Corsica or the Harrison Globe Force, and also for a time conducting the store in Joubert. About 7 years ago, he retired from active life when he would have been about 60. But his retirement was for self-improvement, for he spent his time in reading and thinking. In his death, the community loses a citizen known for his honesty and integrity and fidelity to whatever he engaged to do. He was deeply interested in the affairs of the church, serving for almost 25 years as secretary of the Reformed Church Sunday School and also served as elder. He was most conscientious in his application to the duties of those offices, being painstaking in his work. When the Academy project was launched, he was one of the first to take an active interest in it. He was a member of the board of trustees of this institution. And I have the newspaper picture right here of the Academy. And I know Uncle William attended that, didn't he?
I still have his class ring. It says HCA, Harrison Classical Academy, 1927.
Okay, David has his class
And I
ring.
can get it on my little finger, on the little finger of my left hand.
Okay. He was younger then than you. Harrison Classical Academy was, but he was, the obituary said how he was an enthused member. Funeral services were held in January of '08. The Reverend Henry Strauss conducted the service in the Holland language, attended by many. The Reverend H. Vanderwerp also gave an address, and followed by Professor J.B. Stickety, who spoke in English. He was a professor at the academy there, you suppose, David? Would you say? That since it says professor.
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
It would be logical.
On his tombstone, I stopped there the other night to look at the tombstone in the cemetery. And on the stone it says, But thanks be to God who giveth us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. 1 Corinthians 15:57. It's very hard to read. The light has to be just right in order to see it, but I can make it out very good. And I asked Aunt Sarah to tell any memories of what she has heard. Anything else what the family has remembered. Just they all spoke very highly of him.
That's right, yeah. I would say that Van der Score family was refined, or whatever you want to call it, educated, or what. Because I think that Grandma Brower had said in her obituary too, that she had been a, I have to read it here, a very efficient secretary of the Ladies' Aid for a number of years. And she was held in high esteem by the whole community. So I think that the Browers were that Van der Score family was a really above average, you might say.
That's what I remember Mom talking about too, what she had heard passed down from Grandpa. That
We can, my mother too, your grandma, Wolbrink. She was a Sunday school teacher for 25 years. She taught the high school girls until they got married. And she was president of the Ladies' Aid for a number of years too, I think. And she taught school, and I just think that they were a special family. And Kate taught school, but I think she was a woman, as far as I remember.
Okay, does anybody else? Okay, Joyce? Come on up here and...
She was very involved in WCTU. Women's Christian Temperance Union.
Very involved with the WCTU, Women's Christian Temperance Union.
Huge backer of that, and no doubt she was president of that.
Okay. Okay, does anyone else want to share any memories?
Say that my mother's mother then, now she was also a midwife. She helped a lot with that too. So,
After having 13 children of her own, or during that time? She learned.
One thing I remember when I was a little girl, I fell asleep in church. And my mother had my brother Larry, he was a little 2 years younger than me. But I fell asleep in church, and I guess Mom had Leonard. So when I woke up, I was against another lady's shoulder. Then later on, Mom told me that was Mrs. Jacob Wolbrink. Well, then after I got married, I said to her, I never thought that would be my mother-in-law. But I can remember, and I was a little scared when I woke up because I wasn't against Mom's shoulder. I can see it yet.
Well, you can't say you never met your mother-in-law.
well, she was that way. Because I remember when Mrs. Ed Marcus and Kate, you know, when they had their first baby baptized, and of course Kate was, she was not familiar in our church. She was, you know, didn't feel that comfortable maybe. And when they had their first baby baptized, the baby cried, you know, after the baptism. And I guess Kate didn't feel comfortable about walking out with the baby. And so Mom walked to the front and she picked up the baby and took him out.
Okay, did you folks catch that? How Grandma went up and got the baby and...
I didn't know about Elsa. I didn't know about
That's why we're here to learn.
And I thought that was special because,
She was comfortable.
yes.
Okay, anybody else have an old-time memory or something when you visited Grandpa and Grandma on the farm? Or Harold has a cordless mic here.
I found the cordless mic.
Yeah, so that if you don't want to come up here, it's not so bad up here, but we'd rather not be here. But if you have any memory or something of visiting Grandpa and Grandma on the farm. You know, some of us grew up a mile from them, always lived a mile from them, but I never gathered eggs with Grandma. And I know Harriet mentioned, yeah. I said, we always went home before chores time, I guess.
All right, I've got one memory when you're... Oh, that doesn't work.
I shut mine off.
Well, okay, if you shut that off. Okay, I was just going to say one memory that I have when Uncle William, and I don't know if Dave, if you were here or not, but Adrian was. Adrian visited me on my birthday in July. I was giving him a ride back to Grandpa and Grandma's place on the bicycle. And why I knew this neighbor well from Aurora Center, why he chose to do that as he passed us, he stopped and hollered at us to get out of the way. Well, Adrian got scared, and the Dakota Jackrabbits didn't run any faster than what he did back to Grandpa and Grandma's farm, and I called all the way home because I didn't get to say goodbye to Adrian. I think it was my 11th birthday.
Okay, anybody else have a story? Ruth does. Come up here, please. This is better. It's in the state now. Okay, thank you.
Well, Francis and I have talked about it once in a while, but when we'd come to Grandpa and Grandma's, of course, we'd stay for a while, and there were 4 of us that were under Grandpa's feet, and there was a little cupboard where there were some toys that they could play with, but, you know, especially boys don't stay very quiet. And so when, I can say that, I don't have a sister to pick on. But, so we would go, Grandma had a play kitchen or a playhouse in the trees that we could go and play in. And I know when Frances and I have talked about it, she says, well, I didn't go and play in that playhouse. But there were pans and things that we could play in, and sometimes we'd run corn through the corn sheller, and we could use that, and we had to be a little careful where we picked flowers to put on our cakes and stuff, but it was always so much fun to go to Grandpa and Grandma's and play in that playhouse out in the trees. And then when Grandpa would go out, it would be news time, and he couldn't hear very good by that big radio that stood in the corner right beside his chair. Then he would get up and he would go on back the Studebaker out of the garage, and he'd listen to the news in his new Studebaker. And when he would go outside to listen to the news, Grandma would call us, and we all got a peppermint out of his candy jar. But they were Grandpa's white peppermints, and not to be given away when Grandpa was around. And I have that peppermint jar. But that's sometimes the advantage of being the grandchild that's at a distance and goes and stays for a few days.
Okay, thank you, Ruth. Anybody else?